Good evening, friends. The sun is set, and I'm back with another tale from my collection. Now it's time to grab a snack. Dim the lights if you dare, and let me take you into the night with a story I call She Never Forgot. I like to walk at night, letting my mind wander as my feet carry me to new places while I search the darkness. If I knew what I was looking for, it would probably make it a lot easier to find it, but I don't. I just know that when I do find it, I'll know, and the joy it will bring is immeasurable. To some, this may seem pointless, but fact is, I've been searching my whole life. There is a need somewhere deep down inside that I have never been able to fulfill. Like a hunger for knowledge that I continually feed by learning new things, only to merely have the hunger controlled to a manageable level of discomfort. There are times when this inner hunger ravages so hard that I feel I might go insane with frustration trying to find what I need to satisfy it. Other times, it abates, as it seems I am on the verge of discovery and feel as though the answer and subsequent joy of understanding are within reach. How I feel at any given time with regard to this need is affected greatly by my surroundings and the time of day. Warm, bright days push the hunger deep within where it gnaws at the back of my mind in the still moments, but does not interfere with necessary activities like work or taking care of my family. Nighttime brings it to the forefront, and even if I'm in an enclosed space with artificial lighting where there are no visual clues to let me know if it's light or dark, I still know. Because the hunger rises in my mind like a high tide reclaiming its shores. I don't expect you to understand, and I only tell you so that you might have an idea of what it's like and how it drives me to do the things I do. I've only met two people who understand how I felt and could talk with me in a way that eased the hunger. Sadly, life did not allow us to continue on paths which kept them near me, so what comfort I had in sharing with them was taken. Or so I thought. As I said, the need is affected by my surroundings, and like a metal detector homing in on a coin, my mind seeks its prize. So I found myself returning to the town where I attended high school and met the second person who I felt truly understood. It changed a lot in the last 40 years, while at the same time, it really hadn't changed much at all. I parked my car in the old high school parking lot about 10 o'clock one night and headed off walking into the rest of town like I had when I was a teenager. It was a brisk autumn night with enough of a chill in the air that I could almost see my breath. I could smell winter coming, and with it the feelings of old. I walked past what used to be a cow pasture in the middle of town where one of the town holdouts refused to give up his small ranch to the growth of the city. Apparently, he was long gone, and either had no family to continue, or they sold out to allow the pasture to become a sprawling subdivision of ranch-style homes. I still remember the two-strand barbed wire fence that surrounded the pasture on the line of wooden fence posts. I crossed that fence many a time on damp spring mornings in order to scavenge magic mushrooms growing from the cow patties. I was also chased on more than one occasion by the rancher's big Brahma bull, and had the scars to show where I went through the fence too fast. I had physical education first period back then, and used to like to eat a small bit of mushroom on the way to school. Then, once allowed to pursue my passion of swimming, I would lie at the bottom of the deep end of the pool and just watch everything going on above me. I had the ability then to hold my breath for long periods of time. Too long, some said. At the end of the neighborhood where the pasture was stood a row of houses where my best friend Smiley lived. An accident at home took him from us in the middle of sophomore year, but I still cherish the nights we stayed up late watching music videos and playing video games. He was a master at video games, and we spent a lot of time at the convenience store and video arcade pursuing this passion. I could hear the sound of the train whistle off in the distance as it approached the crossing 2 miles ahead of me at Old Fairgrounds Road. Walking past the junior high and into the east side of town, I walked past the convenience store where Smiley and I hung out and turned west toward the center of town on what used to be the main highway through this part of the county. The shopping center on this side of the railroad tracks now had a discount furniture store where the main grocery store used to be, and the angled road next to it that led out of town had a triangular corner that used to have a gas station and bait shop. I remember going in there one time to buy a soda and seeing a sign above the magazines that proclaimed they had a deal with the library that they would not allow people to read the books for free as long as the library didn't sell bait. I smiled at this memory as I passed and came to the next small shopping center. More of a single divided building than a shopping center, it used to have a barber shop, an insurance agency, and a donut shop. The insurance agency is where Audrey got her first job after school. Audrey was the second person I felt understood my need. She and I would talk for what seemed hours in school, and then sometimes in the evening after she got off work while she waited for her dad to come pick her up. Though I lived 7 miles south of town on the bayou, I liked to spend the evening in town and then hitchhike home. They lived 5 miles out to the west side of town in the woods by the river. It was a small community of trailer homes on small lots, and her 2 cousins also lived in that area. Dating one of her cousins is how I met her. Well, kinda, because one of her male cousins who lived in town was a friend of mine. It seems like minds come together, and since I grew up working on cars, all of my friends were also mechanics of one sort or another. One of them, Jim, was a senior that year and had a pickup truck. He was also Audrey's cousin. Put us all together, and we could put a hurtin' on a case of beer and a bonfire any night of the week. I paid no attention to where my feet were leading me as I remembered the times we had together in that small South Texas town. Though I no longer lived there, it was home, and always would be, even if I felt like a stranger every time I visited. It's a special kind of place, and even with my eyes closed, I always knew when we were getting close because of the smell in the air. For some reason, our county smells like you just opened a fresh sack of the best homegrown smoke and inhaled deeply as you stuck your face in the bag. The light of the moon guided me as I walked through a quiet neighborhood. There were no street lights in this part of town, and I noticed I had turned south heading toward the old video arcade. My mind drifted back to Audrey and a conversation in the hallway at school, not long after her cousin and I decided we were not right for each other. We were talking about an upcoming party that was to be held at Audrey's house since her parents would be out of town for the weekend. The last thing she said to me was that she couldn't wait to get me in the back seat, and then kissed me and disappeared into class. I was quite surprised. I was also feeling pretty good because I had been interested in her since first meeting her. The old arcade was now a laundromat. I saw a soda machine on the sidewalk outside and walked over to get a drink. I'd been walking for at least an hour and a half since leaving my car and was very thirsty. I bought a can of soda, downed it quickly, and bought another. Returning to my walk, I kept heading south as something was pulling me there. After walking a few minutes, I realized I was headed for Cemetery Road and another part of my life. I left the area to go to Florida for about 6 months, and when I returned, I lived in an apartment on Cemetery Road while working across the street as a manager and attendant for the gas station there. Each evening after work, I would walk this way into town and stop at the convenience store next to the arcade, which I just realized was not there anymore, on my way to visit the first person who I felt understood me. I'm not going to go into our relationship now, but mention it only because that convenience store was where I got my dinner every evening, as they had 2 microwave sandwiches I liked. It felt odd that I didn't remember that until I was away from there. Almost as if I needed to be headed where I was originally headed on this night, and remembering sooner could have changed my direction. At least that's the way it feels looking back on it now. While I was out of town, Audrey met and moved in with a guy who treated her badly. I talked with her a few times in town when we ran into each other at the store or gas station, and even though I could still see the fire in her eyes and feel the connection we never consummated, I was also aware of an underlying fear. Like she was worried someone would see her talking to me. I learned later that her new guy was very jealous, and one night in a fit of rage he attacked her. Obviously this had been going on for a while because she was prepared and shot him. I never saw her after that. I asked a friend of mine who was on the police force if she was charged for shooting him, and he told me she had not. I was happy to hear it and wondered what became of her. But life was busy, and I never followed up before I joined the army and left again. Now, on this moonlit night, walking through my old town, I found my thoughts had been focused a lot on her. I kind of wondered why, because honestly, I had not thought of her more than in passing in over 35 years. I was quite happy with my life and would not change it even if I could. So why the sudden renewed interest now? As if reading my mind, the universe blurted out the answer before I could figure it out for myself. From the darkness ahead, I heard a soft, husky female voice that I instantly recognized. "So you're still searching, huh?" she asked. I looked into the shadows and saw a woman walking toward me. As I realized it was Audrey, she fell in step beside me, and we continued toward Cemetery Road. "Wow, hey girl, I hadn't seen you since we were kids," I said. "How you been?" "Oh, I'm good now," she said slowly. "I got things figured out, and I don't have any worries anymore. How's life treated you? I see you're still searching the night for the answers that elude you." "Yeah, I'm good," I said. "I was in the area and decided to take a walk and look at the old town. I live up in Central Texas now, but still come back here periodically." "Home's where the heart is," she smiled. "And your heart has always belonged right here, no matter where you go or how long you stay. We can feel you wherever you are, and always know when you're coming home." I wondered at that last part about "we" and always knowing when I was coming home. It seemed a rather odd thing to say, but then I know sometimes when people have a lot in common, they have feelings about others somehow. "Yeah, this will always be home," I admitted. "Probably why I keep coming back. It just feels like, I don't know, like there's unfinished business here, but I never have figured out what." "Oh, I know exactly what you mean, and I used to feel it too." She moved over and brushed her shoulder to mine and tilted her head toward me. "And you will find the answer when the time is right, just like I did." I realized we had turned onto Cemetery Road and crossed over to walk in the cemetery like we used to as teenagers. I thought about what she said as we continued to walk silently and saw we were coming into a newer area of the cemetery. We were now walking along the line between new and old headstones. It was comforting to hear her say that I would eventually find what I sought. "Audrey, you remember when we were in high school and never had the chance to get together?" I asked. "Oh yeah," she said enthusiastically. "I always wanted to make you mine, but there was always somebody else in the way. Whether it was you with someone or me, we just never could be ready at the same time." "Yeah, I'm sorry," I said and turned to look at her, seeing how the moon made the single strip of silver in her bangs glow against the rest of her auburn hair. "For what?" she asked. "It's not like you owed me anything. We just never found the time." "I'm sorry you had to experience what you did with that guy," I said, realizing I didn't even know his name. I just wonder if things could have been different for you if we had some time to get you past where you ended up with him. Don't you ever doubt what happened was not meant to be, she squeezed my hand. Things happen for a reason, and we all find the answers when it is time. I hope you know that I did care for you and felt bad for what you went through. I looked at the moon. She let go of my hand and raised it to get my attention. Pointing, she drew her hand down with my gaze to point at the headstone where we now stood. As her hand fell away, she leaned up and I felt her warm breath as she kissed my cheek and said, "I never forgot." Looking at the gravestone, I realized it had her name on it, and the date of her passing was the year I left to join the army. With sudden clarity, I realized she had not survived defending herself, and a sadness enveloped me. I looked to where she stood, but I was alone. Thank you for spending your time with me. Tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll be sure to join the conversation. That's all for now, but I'll be back again soon with another story, just for you. Until then, sleep well.